Alright, hello, welcome to episode 2 of Half-Life Alyx. Last time we explored around a bit, we found Russell and everything, which, great guy, love him already. He's gonna be one of the best people of this whole thing. So let's go ahead and get started.
Hello, Alyx? We might have a problem. Probably nothing to worry about, but... Did the train stop? It stopped, didn't it?
Yeah, what happened?
It's jammed. When the Combine shut down the quarantine zone, they must have tightened security.
Which means?
Yeah, you're nowhere near Fairview Junction. You're just outside the QZ. And this is as far as we get by train.
Then I'm headed on foot.
Good. I'll see if I can get you in some other way.
Hello.
I got a dead zombie here. I thought the Combine sealed up the QZ.
This one must have squirted out. I've heard they've had trouble with barnacle spores outside the containment area. But not about fellas like this.
Probably not a one-off then.
I doubt it.
Jump. Yeah, thank you. Wow. Yeah, I thought that was gonna be body horror and like teeth and such, like in Cosmodread, the other VR game that I'm playing. But I guess that's just someone with their stomach ripped open. Okay.
Even in our earliest experiments in bringing Half-Life to VR, we found that players enjoyed exploring every nook and cranny of the environment. With the increased fidelity of VR, players not only expected to be able to interact with a vast array of objects, but they also had a strong desire to find something useful from time to time. This was so universal among testers that in addition to more searchable locations and interactive objects, we added a new resource, resin. Level designers could place this new resource in fun and interesting locations that weren't tied to game progression, rewarding players wider-ranging exploration. We also tied this new resource to a longer-term goal in the form of weapon upgrades, further motivating players to explore the environment. Deep scavenger hunts and keen observation would result in more resin to spend as a reward.
Those claws, though, look at that. Okay. Do this. Hey, Rat. How you doing? Oh, you're so pretty. Look at you, Rat. Hi. Yeah, it's nice to meet you. Anyway. No, you get sappy over animals.
Internally, we refer to this type of puzzle as a toner puzzle, due to its similarity to a real-world cable toner tool that can be used to locate electrical wires in walls. The toner mechanic was conceived as a tool for designers to craft player experiences around knowing that the player had to put their head and hands in specific locations. The initial design merely required the player to use their multi-tool to push a ball of energy along a path, similar to a child's bead maze toy. While this simple design was successful at getting the player to put their head and hands in particular locations, the lack of branching meant that the player wasn't required to make any choices, nor was there any possibility of negative consequences. To address these issues, we added the rotating junction elements, which allowed for branching paths and became the player's primary means of interacting with toner puzzles. While the toner puzzles ramp up in complexity throughout the game, this first toner puzzle is designed to use a minimal number of...
Alyx.
It's a little derivative of the Russells, but yeah, provisionally, sure. The Alyx.
Yeah, the Alyx.
Oh, no. Hey there, how you doing? Oh, I guess I am one, huh? Okay. Thank you for your sacrifice. You'll be remembered forever for the next 5 minutes. You know what? No, that made me angry. I don't want to do it again. But yeah, it looks like if I grab it from the top, I can take those headsets off to actually hear the voice acting going on. There we go. Oh yeah, you won't tell me what you are. Okay.
From our earliest experiments in VR, we realized how critical high-quality, high-density lighting was to conveying a sense of realism. In game development, any technology choice involves trade-offs between quality, runtime performance, and development time. For Half-Life Alyx, we chose a high-quality, high-performance light mapping solution which required a significant amount of offline preprocessing. We performed the light map preprocessing using a render farm, which could take several hours.
You know what? I don't use it. Oh.
Barnacles, while an iconic Half-Life creature, presented some interesting VR-specific challenges. While their tongue is intended to trap hasty or unobservant players, those caught by them often didn't realize what was happening. They would become disoriented or even motion sick as the barnacle lifted them up to be eaten. These unfortunate players almost universally died, and failed to learn what was happening even after multiple encounters. To address this issue, we created the tongue as a particle system. This allowed us to both physically simulate it as well as reliably position it for maximum visibility. If a player does get grabbed by a barnacle, the tongue always wraps right in front of their face, no matter which direction they try to look. This makes the tongue almost impossible to miss and visually guides the player's eyes up to the location of the barnacle, so they know where to shoot to free themselves.
How'd you meet my dad, anyway?
The asphyxiation...
You guys work together at Black Mesa, right?
Yeah. Well, no. Tricky place to get a job at, actually. I interviewed at Black Mesa. They said try again in a year. I don't need to tell you what happened after that. Lucky break for me, really. Not a lot of survivors. Honestly, it's a miracle you and your dad got out of it.
We got a lot of positive feedback from our initial experiments requiring players to perform a series of physical actions to reload the pistol. Specifically, ejecting the clip, retrieving a new clip from their backpack, inserting the clip into the gun, and chambering around. Players enjoyed learning and improving at this skill. We experimented with using a single button for both ejecting a clip and chambering around, but we found that assigning these operations to two different buttons was more interesting, even though it was more mentally taxing. In fact, it was more interesting precisely because it was more mentally taxing, as players would frequently mix up the buttons under pressure. In the early stages of the game, players would be fumbling for clips, ejecting the clips when they meant to be chambering around, and generally making a mess. To those of us observing the playtest, this looked like things had gone horribly wrong, but players themselves consistently cited this as a high point of their playthroughs. Because of the physical nature of the reload, and the skill required, players blamed themselves and not the game for the mistakes made as they were learning the reloading sequence. In this area, we provide a number of static targets in the form of barnacles for players to shoot at their own pace, increasing the likelihood that they have at least a few reloads under their belt before moving on.
That is actually a really good point.
Do you need a minute? Because, I could pause the feed.
Just looking, Russ.
Okay. That probably hasn't been serviced in literally years. But yeah, that's a good point that the voice made about the difficulty and how if it's like a fair difficulty, then that's a good thing, you know? Like the Dark Souls series, where, yeah, they're punishing as hell, but they're always fair. They don't, like, jump frames or anything. They don't have unnecessary invisible walls or anything. Oh, that's like a barge gate up there.
I take it the quarantine zone is behind this hatch?
Yeah, that's where they keep it.
I'll look around for a control panel to open it up. Oh. Ugh. No, you're not gonna. Come on. Let me just.
Okay, fine. Whatever. Good enough. There we go. Might be a little janky, but it worked. Where's that? There you are. Beautiful. Refining my Jedi powers here. Oh, yeah, of course that doesn't work. Why would it? Okay, so yeah, as you can probably tell at this point, this isn't going to be a blind playthrough like the Saints and Sinners one was. I have played this once before, like I said at the beginning, but it's a great game, and I thoroughly enjoy playing it. But I played it on my previous rig, so it wasn't nearly as pretty as this. Like, you saw the difference in the Saints and Sinners playthrough, even. And that was significantly less graphically intensive than this game. Like, look at all this. Oh, it's so pretty. You can imagine how I'm feeling without this. Okay. I'm trying not to be all, you know.
In prior Half-Life games, while playing as Gordon, the player saw Alyx use her multi-tool to hack into Combine security systems in order to unlock doors or perform other acts of sabotage. This presented an opportunity for us to represent Alyx's hacking skills through VR-centric minigames. All of our hacking minigame designs were built to leverage the independently tracked head and hands common to today's VR systems. We wanted to encourage players to use both hands simultaneously and move their head to create parallax to understand the spatial relationships within the puzzles. This locker hacking puzzle is based upon one of our earliest prototypes, in which the player was tasked with using a tool in one hand to paint a path on a sphere held by the other hand. There was just something fun and unique about using all of the natural degrees of freedom of both hands to solve a puzzle in VR. In its simplest form, this puzzle solution is straightforward, but the difficulty gradually increases throughout the course of the game by introducing static or moving obstacles of various shapes and sizes on the sphere.
You know, Russell, now that I'm walking into the quarantine zone, it just hit me. I don't know anything about the quarantine zone.
Well, actually, the word quarantine comes from the Italian 40 giorni, which means 40 days, the period that all ships were required to be isolated before crew could go ashore during the Black Death.
All right. Cool.
That's the control panel. They've probably scrambled the circuit, but considering no one would be dumb enough to open the hatch, it shouldn't be too hard to put back.
Yeah, the Combine is a very interesting mixture of biology and technology that I really think we could stand to go more into as a species. Not this specifically, because this is just body horror-esque, but like you can see like there's vaguely teeth structures in there, and there's like some sort of twitching. I think this is like a liver sort of tissue. Oh, there's a full-on rat and a mouth. Oh yeah, look at that. Yeah, the way it's like twitching and everything, it's like getting more energy from this thing. And then I just need to do this with this one as well. And we're golden.
There we go, finally.
I'm gonna head in. How far is Fairview Junction?
You'll go through the old subway tunnels on your way to the train yard.
Have they started moving Dad yet?
I don't think so, which is good news because we've still got time.
Oh, that's great.
Or bad news because they've already killed him. And you don't need to move a corpse, you just bury it.
Russell.
Or burn it. Still there, Alyx?
Russell, are you seeing this?
Whoa.
All right. Here we go.
This definitely reminds me of being in like an aquarium. It's great. Oh, you're gonna not let me touch you? Oh, that's cool. It just moves wherever I take it, and then there's like a... Can I... Huh. That is actually really cool. Look at all the physics interactions. I can't grab it, but there's a ton of stuff I can do with it. I mean, what's the worst that'll happen? My character gets infected? Nah, I shouldn't waste any ammo. Alright. Success. Okay, so it's probably going to be more episode 3 when it really picks... Whatever. When it really picks up, but... One benefit of this, as opposed to Saints and Sinners, is there's no inventory management and everything. It's basically just pick up stuff and go, find stuff along the way, but it's mostly just going.
In our early prototypes, players could heal themselves by grabbing a Half-Life 2 health pack and pressing down on a controller button, which obviously wasn't a very interesting VR interaction.
No.
During the development of Half-Life Alyx, the Counter-Strike team added health injectors into CSGO as part of the new Danger Zone game mode they were developing. When we saw this, we felt that an injector would work well as an intuitive healing item in VR as well. Players would press a button.
I don't see one.
Probably medicine then.
In our early prototypes...
Okay, you know what? No. Sorry. It was very interesting, but I much prefer the interaction between Alyx and Russell.
Do you hear that?
What is that? Oh boy.
Yeah, that's the way we gotta go.
No shortcut?
Yeah, that is the shortcut.
It's not banging its head against the fence itself.
Oh man.
That barnacle's on our side. It's not though, obviously. So don't walk under them. Oh, just so you know, the Russells have a built-in display that shows you resin, ammo, might come in handy.
Got it. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm the best host ever, just not saying anything at all. But that was interesting, even though it was a little bit kill the cameraman there, because I was looking down right as it got grabbed. But then I was like, oh, and looked up again. I'll try not to do that. Yeah, there's a chance for all of them to drop resin or ammo. And honestly, even just one of them dropping one ammo was enough to make it worth it the entire time. Good, good. Gas mask. I already have gloves on. And a hard hat. That'll be good. I probably don't care about you, but let's see what it
Virtual
says.
reality provides the opportunity to add physicality to gameplay, but this needs to be balanced against player fatigue and accessibility. For example, we experimented with a low ceiling in this area, requiring players to crouch the whole time that they made their way across the tops of these train cars. Playtesters did not enjoy having to crouch for so long, so we raised the ceiling.
I was wondering whether or not it would actually give items for that, a lot more upward momentum going from below. Alright. Oh, and it has little spore babies.
Oh boy.
Yeah, be careful.
Their gibbering really, doesn't do it for me. Like I was just not reacting to this at all. You done? Cool, you done. Gonna get any more from down here? Does not look like it.
The breakable glass panels in Half-Life Alyx are yet one more system designed to convince players that they are present in a living, breathing world. The panels detect the position of an incoming impact and procedurally generate new, smaller glass panels in a radial pattern around the impact position. These new panels can then break into smaller panels themselves, and so on. We found that players would often break glass panels accidentally, then spend time testing just how interactive they really were by trying to break them more, eventually realizing that yes, the glass really did shatter at the appropriate location. At one point, we experimented with building special puzzles out of breakable glass, but in the end we found the glass to be more appropriate as a passive interactive element in the world, one that reacts in a satisfying way to a variety of impacts, from zombie melee attacks to incoming gunfire or any other physical interaction in the game.
Yeah, that is extremely nice of them, that it breaks explicitly at the point of impact. As opposed to just some sort of stock thing, which they totally could have done, and it would have been completely fine and slightly disappointing. Oh, I discussed this in the Saints and Sinners playthrough. Like, I like this so much more, and an evidence of how they just go for ease of use and convenience whenever possible. Come on, let me hit it. But yeah, in Saints and Sinners, like, you have to grab an axe, you have to thunk, 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 and then it breaks, then thunk, 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 then it breaks, and so on down below. This one, literally just click the grab button and move the controller at all with any sort of force, and it just goes right down. Just anywhere, and you can just go right through. It's great. Nothing else here.
Alyx, I think that's a combine fabricator. Put something in it. I want to see how this thing works.
Got it. Will it work on the Russells?
No, but it should fix up that pistol nicely. Good thing, too, I gave you one of my lesser guns.
Thanks, Russell.
Well, you know, in case it doesn't make it back.
Tell you what, Russell. If I die, I owe you a gun.
You owe me a gun anyway. That wasn't a gift. That's my gun.
You owe me a gun anyway. And then while I'm searching for the rest of this, now's a good time to listen to these.
Weapon upgrades are a new feature for the Half-Life franchise.
Yup.
And fictionally, this mechanic paired well with Alyx's tinkering nature. We approached this design challenge first by thinking about what sort of upgrades could be meaningful and also provide additional value to players without removing established interactions. With limited resin to spend, the upgrade system also provided an avenue for players to personalize and invest in their favorite weapon, or streamline an interaction on another weapon, increasing its value to them. For example, the reflex sight still requires players to physically aim, but it improves the feedback on exactly where their shot will hit, and exposes previously hidden enemy weak points. While some players enjoyed this feedback and new targeting opportunities, others didn't and would instead focus on upgrades that suited their style of play. This allowed players to spend their limited resin on upgrades they cared about the most. Another aspect of weapon upgrades that we focused on was not necessarily obvious when we first started to design and test combat in VR. Due to the more physical nature of combat in VR, it can really push on the mental and physical capacity of certain players, as they're required to utilize both their hands and move their head to take in the environment dealing with enemies. While this is a very natural experience, there's also a lot going on at any given point with reloading and combat. As we observed players in some of these more intense combat situations, we started finding opportunities to allow some upgrades to reduce the number of times a physical interaction was required, or reduce the complexity of a particular interaction. The autoloader on the shotgun is a good example. When added to the shotgun, the normally slow, methodical action of feeding shells into the gun is replaced with a far simpler, faster interaction of slapping the shells into the autoloader before they get automatically fed into the gun. This allows players to look around, focus less on the gun while reloading, and take in more of what's going on around them.
So, I don't really want anything else in here, but this reflex sight is quite nice. Oh, do I have to actually... Right? And yeah, when you're paying for stuff, it stacks into things like 5 here. It's quite nice. Oh yeah, look at this.
Oh, that really worked, didn't it? Huh.
Looks significantly better than the other one too. It was much smaller. Alright, I guess that's it since I don't have any more resin. Full in health, so I'm not going to use this bug here. Player comfort and pacing. Yeah, see how it lights up the weak spot? Seriously? That took forever. Alright.
At the beginning of the Half-Life Alyx project, we had the expectation that players would want to take a break after 30 to 45 minutes, since that's what we were seeing with the lab and other small-scale VR experiences available at the time. Because of this, we designed the pacing of the game's levels around play sessions of that duration. Over the course of development, however, the game itself included more downtime between intense combat encounters, and the comfort of the new crop of HMDs improved significantly. In fact, as the game progressed, we found that players were happy to play for hours on end. At the end of a playtest, players would often remark that this was the longest they had ever played VR in a single session.
There you are. I was wondering why the noise wasn't stopping. And the way that they designed reaching over your shoulder and returning the loot over your shoulder is so much better than Insane Centers 2. Like, it works almost 100% of the time.
Nice shooting, Alyx.
Thanks. You know, for all your talk about what a lesser gun this thing isn't half bad.
That's the way I want to go, so time to loot. As we get away from the beginning of the game, I'm gonna recognize things less and less. because I've shown my friends the beginning of this game a couple times just because of how cool it is, you know, and it's an awesome game. So I'm thoroughly familiar with, like, up to around here, maybe to the shotgun. But if you're concerned about me just going through, seeing where everything is and grabbing stuff, I mean, I'm sure I'm missing some of the less obvious stuff that I missed the first time, but... yeah, look at this thing as it goes along. That's not breakable. I just... hop, and it's gone. And I'm good.
Hit crab!
I see it.
Until this point in the game, players have only seen headcrabs attached to the heads of zombies. This led playtesters familiar with headcrabs from prior games to anticipate encountering them on their own. We decided to play up this anticipation by foreshadowing the first headcrab encounter with a headcrab that drops out of a vent before disappearing, as well as headcrab sounds in the environment, including a threatening headcrab sound coming from the partially boarded up doorway ahead.
Oh, well, good to know that that's gonna happen. I was even forewarned with that, but it surprised me.
Ah! Yep, there it is. Found it. Probably only one of those.
One shot. I don't care about one bullet, and probably only one of those. You bet that. Good boy. But yeah, they did great with the physics in this.
Okay, two of those.
In that you can just pick up a box of things with stuff in it and then just tip it over and it all comes out, or each individually physics based, you know? Hey. Okay, so it's been about a half hour. Yeah, it's been about a half hour. I'm gonna keep going. We haven't really had
Heard
much
anything
action.
about Dad, Russell?
No. Radio silence since he got on the train.
Damn it.
Well, the good news is he's probably fine.
How do you know that?
Because they're taking him to Nova Prospect to torture him. That's the torture place. So they're hardly going to torture him before they get there. So he's fine.
You right,
Logically
Russell?
speaking.
You right? Look at that logic brain coming through. I really wish I had a flashlight. I sure hope there's not gonna be a place up there that's super dark that I need a flashlight for. That wouldn't be unexpected at all. Also, don't clear windows like this in real life. Movies like to play up the whole, oh, you can jump through a glass or pane of glass or whatever. But no, that would severely lacerate you. Can confirm. Have done it myself accidentally.
That there is a floppy disk. We used to store information on them, with magnets, if you can believe it.
Huh.
Specifically, 2 micrometers magnetic iron oxide, 3 micrometers barium ferrite, 1.2...
Russell? How do you know all this?
I'm reading it here on my computer. I downloaded the internet before the war.
You downloaded the entire internet?
Most of it.
Nice.
Yeah, it is.
Hold on, my dear. Oh, there you are. Could be everything right. There's at least drawers over here. There might be some. Right. Yeah, I really don't want to kill these things unnecessarily, but I'm just at full health still. I haven't been hit yet. So I shouldn't put them in there, right? I should just leave them here. For the next person who comes along. Be free, little health bug. You live your best life. Yeah.
Russell, are you seeing this?
Possibly. Are you seeing floating garbage?
It looks like it's just cardboard.
Right. Well, seems harmless.
Yeah. Weird, though. Is that?
I love this whole area. Gotta say. I'll let them explain it better than I can now.
There are two layers to the markings on the walls in this area. The square and dot patterns, that are the functional elements of the environmental puzzle, and the mural representing the Vortigaunt's interpretation of the events of the Half-Life saga. For the first few years of development, this area only contained the dot patterns supporting the perspective puzzle. But as we fleshed out the rest of the level, we found that playtesters responded especially positively to the Vortigaunt's wall markings leading up to the hideout. It was at this point that we realized that this area could serve as a canvas for our Vortigaunt's artistic magnum opus. To do this, we organized the dot patterns into a sort of swirling starfield behind the Vortigaunt's art. The imagery itself, which was inspired by petroglyphs and other traditional rock art, portrays many significant events from the Combine invasion, painted hurriedly by the injured Vortigaunt, almost as if he was trying to capture what fleeting memories he still had of the vortessence from which he had been severed. The fact that Vortigaunts have a complicated relationship with time gave us a lot of leeway in terms of drawing this as a strict, linear timeline. For example, you may notice that the Vortigaunt uses contemporary Combine troops as shorthand for Combine invasions from the past, or that the timeline is just generally hazy. A little from the past, a little from the present, and a little looking forward to the future events of Half-Life 2.
Yeah, that's the final boss of Half-Life. Anyway, not to waste too much time here.
There are many musical themes and motifs used throughout the game to represent unspoken aspects of the story and lore. For example, the Vortigaunts play an integral role in the subplot of the game, and we chose to use music to subconsciously communicate the repeating nature of their role both in the timeline of Half-Life Alyx and in the larger timeline of the Half-Life saga. Within the music in this scene, you'll hear variations of themes used throughout the timeline of the game, from the very first sounds of the game up to the finale in the vault. Variations of these motifs represent the imprisoned chanting of the Vortigaunts.
That's nice. I'm a fan of audio information like this, so...
The extraction of their energy to confine the G-Man.
Is that what's happening? They're confining the G-Man.
As well as historically familiar sounds representing the vortessence itself.
Okay, I just want to hear all three tied together one last time before we head out. Yeah, now that we know what to listen for with that. Honestly, I love the audio track there, so props to them, whoever worked on that. Mic something on the audio. There is no sprint button in this, I apologize. It's all about the exact same speed.
Alyx, you alright? What's wrong?
I'm fine, Russell. What's up?
I'm losing your signal. Alyx? Alyx? If you can still hear me, keep heading in the same direction and try to get above ground.
Russell? Russell?
Because that's not ominous in the slightest.
Whoa. This is weird.
During our earliest attempts to raid Alyx, our instinct was to have her react to absolutely everything. But what we learned from playtesting was that Alyx reacting too much could actually be off-putting.
Yeah.
Say a player's in a really tense, zombie-filled level, and they're having a great time, but suddenly Alyx is in their head, sounding angry, or frightened, or anxious. These Alyx reactions were creating a disconnect between how the player was feeling and how the character they were role-playing as was feeling. So we took a lot of those out. The Alyx reactions we left in tended to be the ones that were practically universal. Alyx's reaction here to the surreal entrance to the Vord hideout is a good example, where it was just so different from everything the player had seen up until then, and kind of takes you by surprise. We watched so many playtests where the player would see it and say, "Whoa, that's weird." So we had Alyx say the same thing a second later, almost like an echo.
Hello.
The Alyx fans. You received my messages.
I did?
Come, enter.
Okay, thanks.
You are welcome.
So, what's a Vortigaunt doing here?
Cooking.
Right, but I mean in general.
I have a brain injury.
Oh, I'm sorry to...
My brain is injured.
That's terrible, and I hope... Look, I'm actually pretty busy looking for my father. Eli Vance.
Vance. Yes.
The Combine have him, and I really do need to get moving.
The Combine. Yes. Do not go yet. I must show you something.
Look, I appreciate...
This way.
I can't stick around.
It is important.
I know, I'm sure it is.
The Alyx Vance must go this way, anyway.
Okay.
Oh.
Hello. Oh, you little scared babies.
The Combine and other like him. Like the Eli Vance. The Alyx Vance will free them.
I would help. I really would, but the Alyx Vance is honestly very busy saving her dad.
You will not save him. He is dead.
What?
Or he will be.
Is or will be?
It is a matter of perspective. But Alyx Vance alone cannot prevent his fate.
Look, thank you for everything, but I really have to go. And I'm sorry, but I really don't have time for riddles.
No riddles. The Combine drilled here. I am severed from the vortessence. I am alone in my head.
I'm sorry. Look, if I can, if I run across your friends, I will see what I can do.
You have saved my kin.
I haven't.
Then you will. Courage, Alyx Vance.
Courage.
I will help the Alyx lands. Look to the northern star.
Why?
For guidance.
Okay, thanks. Are you done helping?
I am not. Here.
Yes.
Sustenance.
Sustenance!
I'll eat it later. Thanks for the help.
You will be welcome.
Okay, anyway.
The fundamental challenge of any choreographed dramatic scene like this one is making sure that we entertain the player without undermining the delivery of critical gameplay information. In this case, the player needed to leave this scene with the knowledge that the Vortigaunts have been imprisoned and that the player should seek the Northern Star. This particular scene went through many different variations during development, from a cooking scene with an extremely traumatized Vortigaunt to this humorous version. We even experimented with an interaction where the player was required to squeeze the nectar of several headcrab hearts into the Vortigaunt's mouth to revive him. While this was a memorable and novel VR interaction that ensured the player was engaged with the scene, the interactivity...
No! Oh. Well, I guess we're done listening to that. I meant to put this on my head, but I guess I can't. Yeah, you can really get used to the whole alienness of the biology here very quickly. Alright, well, this was a loading scene, so I'm gonna say that this counts as another episode because it's been about 47 minutes. So thanks for watching. See you in the next one.